Welcome to the tutorial on temporal lobe epilepsy. This station has only come up as a history-taking station. And let's have a look at the structure for the interview that you saw in the video. And as you can see there, those were the headings which I used to help me through this particular station. This station was a little contrived. He gave me a lot of the indicators that this was a temporal lobe epilepsy at the beginning of the station when I asked him an open question as to what the problems were. He mentioned things such as having a burning sensation, having a funny smell, which then led me to suspect that this was a temporal lobe epilepsy station. And in the question, there were also other pointers to that, and that he also had a trial of an antidepressant, which, as you know, can lower the seizure threshold. So subsequently, I decided to focus my questions around a temporal lobe epilepsy. And then I went on to the history of presenting complaints, so looking at the onset, duration, progression, and impact of his symptoms. Additionally, also just looking at the frequency of these seizures that he was having. So the types of questions that as you saw that I asked were, how was life at the time when he first started to develop these symptoms, and obviously when did they first occur, which antidepressant he'd been started on, as medications like clomipramine, tricyclics and SSRIs have, there's an evidence that these particular antidepressants lower the seizure threshold. Were there any recent dosage changes and how those correlated with his symptoms? And as I said, in terms of duration, how many of these episodes was he getting, say, in a typical week? Where were they occurring? Did they happen at work? Were they happening when he was driving, for example? Has the pattern changed at all? And again, as I've said before, the impact they were having on his life at the present time. And then I went on to ask him about a recent example, and again, a good open question, such as, could you take me through the last time this happened? And then we went on to looking at the symptoms from a pre-ictal, ictal, and post-ictal standpoint. And so when we explored what was happening to him initially or pre-ictally, he started to give some indication that he was experiencing symptoms of an aura. So he was having some sensory experience where he was feeling butterflies in his stomach, and then had this quite classic olfactory hallucination where he could smell burning rubber. And as you know, auras last between sort of seconds to 1 or 2 minutes, and they can cause a variety of sensory, autonomic, or psychiatric symptoms. So it's important to explore if he had any other experiences. So again, just asking an open question such as, did you have any other unusual experiences at all outside of the ones that he described? And then I briefly looked at whether he had any typical experiences where he could see flashing lights, looked at depersonalization, derealization, any other types of hallucinatory experience. And then we went on to the ictal part of the history. And one of the key questions to ask here is, are they aware of what's happening around them at the time? And in the interview, he said that he could think so, and I could have, looking back on that video, maybe explored that a little bit more, just so that I could be certain as to whether he did have any awareness during the ictal phase or not. And that can, as you know, with temporal lobe epilepsy, you can have no loss of awareness, and that's known as a simple partial seizure. And when they have no loss of awareness, that can happen with or without an aura. But loss of awareness occurs during a complex partial seizure, as you know, and the seizure can spread to both of the temporal lobes from secondary generalization. So that's one of the key things to clarify there. And then during the ictal phase, again, was it witnessed? So were there typical features such as facial grimacing or lip smacking, or whether did this progress into a full tonic-clonic seizure? And in rare cases, were there any automatisms? Did he lash out at anyone? So those are the key things to look at there. And then we went into the post-ictal phase, and so some of the classic things we're looking at here are any evidence of amnesia, confusion, headaches, or tongue biting, or incontinence. And patients usually experience a period of confusion for minutes following the seizure during this period. And the amnesia occurs because, usually in complex partial seizures, because of the bilateral involvement of both temporal lobes. And then after that, we went on to some of the other standard aspects of the history. So, was there anything relevant in his past medical history? And he had a history of febrile seizures, which can be a contributing indicator. Any history of head injury is also important to ask about. Alcohol use, whether these were withdrawal seizures at all. A family history of seizures was also important to elicit. Any family medical history, so family history of epilepsy was also a contributing indicator that this could be a temporal lobe epilepsy. A drug history, so as we identified, he'd been prescribed an antidepressant and had a recent dosage change, which appeared to trigger these symptoms, or any of the types of let me try and get this word properly, epileptogenic medications. Try and say that 10 times over. And so medications such as clozapine, as you know, is an epileptogenic medication. And as I mentioned before, medications like clomipramine are also notorious for this. We then went on to risks, so risk issues such as whether he drives or whether there was any suicidal ideation. On the slide there, I've also got comorbidity. So if he did have the time, in reality, again looking at whether there were any concurrent depressive or psychotic symptoms. And then briefly, we arrived at a diagnosis, looked at explained why we thought it was this specific diagnosis given the symptoms and the specific triggers and issues in his history. And then also spoke about the impact that would have on his driving. So let's just briefly look at some of the key areas in the script for this station. Hello, my name is Dr. X, and I received a letter from your GP providing me with some information. However, I was wondering if you could share with me yourself as to what the main problems had been. So again, the key thing is starting with the open question, and then going on to the history of presented complaint in terms of the onset, duration, and progression. So when do they first start, and how was life at that time? How often do they occur? When do they occur? Has this pattern changed at all? Again, an empathic statement is always a good thing to put in there if they've been talking about some very troublesome symptoms, and then exploring again any of the other experiences that they've been having, such as the burning sensation or the smells that they've had. And then going through a recent example, and again, these are just some of the typical questions that you can ask. So could you tell me about the last time it happened, or could you talk me through the last time this happened to you? And then I may interrupt you from time to time just to get a few more details. And then again, we're going through from as I said, the pre-ictal, ictal, and post-ictal phases. and addressing our questioning accordingly. And these are some of the types of questions that you could use. So, were you able to think clearly? And if they couldn't think clearly, why that wasn't the case. And then moving on to the descriptions of the aura that they may have experienced. And bear in mind that with temporal lobe epilepsy, you can, with the simple partial seizures, that they can present without auras. But I think typically in the exam they will have an aura. So the types of questions that we're looking at are going to be centered around any physical symptoms, any autonomic or sensory, and then any psychiatric symptoms. So following on from what the patient had told us, so did he have any of the physical sensations? And again, anything else, just exploring them openly. Did you have any experiences where you could smell anything if he hadn't volunteered that information before? And then moving on to looking at any other symptoms he may have had in the pre-ictal phase. So again, prefixing any of those questions by saying, I'm just going to ask you a few strange questions, but these are just a standard part of my assessment. Have you ever had any experiences where you felt you saw people who were not actually there? Did you ever hear things which you felt were not actually there? Have you ever had any experiences where you felt things around you didn't feel real? Or how about the opposite of that, where you felt you didn't feel real, but the rest of the world did? Have you ever had a déjà vu experience? How often do those occur? Have you ever had an experience where you felt you'd been to a place but not actually been there? Are you aware of what is happening around you? And again, we're moving on to the ictal phase now. And then, has this been witnessed? Or so has anybody seen this actually happen to you? And what do they say? And again, so we're looking at issues around lip smacking or facial grimacing or any automatisms. In the video I said, has anybody commented that you lash out at all? And obviously also looking at, are they shaking? So have they gone into a tonic-clonic seizure, for example? And then going post-ictally, so what happens after that? Do you feel tired? Are you aware of what's happened? Do you feel confused at all? Can you remember what happened? Do you ever get any headaches? Have you ever found that you wet yourself afterwards? And then again, was this example typical of what's been happening? Are you working at the moment? What kind of work do you do? Has this ever happened at work? And how else has this impacted on your life? And from a past medical standpoint, have you had any experiences like this before? Have you ever had a head injury before? Do you drink alcohol at all? Or would you take any of the street drugs at all? And then moving on to some standard questions about any history in the family of anything similar. And in terms of a drug history, is he taking any other prescribed medication? And again, we're looking for any epileptogenic types of medication there. And then moving on to risks and comorbidity. So any issues around whether this has happened when he's been driving, which we'll talk about in a second. Whether this has impacted on his mood to an extent where he's become suicidal. And again, dependent on the time that you have in a station like this, I've only put one question there on mood, but as you know, you would, if we're exploring this properly, we'd be going through the 3 core depressive symptoms as well as any other biological symptoms at that point. And then moving on to some of the statements that we use to end the station. So you've developed symptoms of a condition called temporal lobe epilepsy. Have you ever heard of this before? And again, because it's only a 7-minute station, we wouldn't be expected to be elaborate on what the disorder actually is. And so a standard line such as, we've only had a limited amount of time today to talk about this. Here are some patient information leaflets, and I'd like to book another appointment to see you to talk to you further about this. If they ask why it's happened, again, just some standard indicators from your history, such as, it seems that the increase in medication has made you susceptible to this, as well as a history in the family of epilepsy, and maybe other lines such as, the symptoms that you are suffering from are typical of this condition. And then again, emphasising the issues around driving, it is highly probable that you will need to inform the DVLA if you are diagnosed with this condition because of the risks involved. And again, if they have any objections to this, if you don't, I'm legally bound to inform them. And briefly, just in terms of investigations, that if they ask about that, again, as you know, EEGs, an MRI scan, the standard investigations which are done. PET scans can be done if it's still highly suspected and the MRI is normal. And as we said before, clozapine and clomipramine are the most epileptogenic medications, and haloperidol and sulpride actually can increase the seizure threshold, and so can create less of a risk. And as we said before, the patient must inform the DVLA if they are diagnosed with an epileptic condition, and if this doesn't occur, the doctor must report and is legally bound to report this to the DVLA. And in terms of alternate scenarios, I can only imagine that they only ask about temporal lobe epilepsy from a history-taking point of view in a 7-minute station, as they wouldn't expect you to go through a linked station where you're explaining the management of epilepsy to a consultant. So I hope this tutorial has been useful. Good luck with your practice, and I'll see you